this? I think we've looked at those already, haven't we?
Yes, super dog quadrant. Yeah.
Going to go right through printing and everything on this?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that then. So file, open, let's see, right here, there, open. Okay, get home. Okay, now, I'm going to cheat and delete our border. Is that okay? Okay. Okay, so this is what you should have right here. Most of you have your board routed. Every one of your vias have to have a trace coming out and ending. Do not daisy chain all your power and grounds together through a thin little trace. Okay? Just come out and end with a via. We'll put that little X in the stop when we did our plots the other day. So the first thing that we're going to do is around the board. Remember, they're going to make these boards now in a big panel. So you might have a board, 3 or 4 boards, just like that in a panel. That whole panel is copper now. Okay? And then all they're going to do is they're going to take it to a shear and shear it off there, 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 and there. And you have 8 boards. Does that make sense? Well, where's your copper? When you shear it, where's your copper?
Right at the edge.
Right at the edge of the board. Does that make sense? Well, we want to hold that copper back a little bit because of tolerance and shearing and everything else. Because if you don't, what happens if you touch it against a metal bar? It'll short itself out, right? So all we're doing is we're having a 2D line, and we're only concerned about this now on our power and ground planes, right? On the other planes, you have a space check. And one of the things that you can set up on the space check, and I'll show you this in just a second, is how far away from the edge of the board you want a trace to be without signaling an error. Does that make sense to you? So we cannot control the copper on our power and ground plane like that. So what we're going to do is that 2D going around, remember it's a photo reverse. If you have something there, it's going to delete the copper. If you don't, copper's going to appear, right? It's just a photo reverse of what you get. So that 2D line around our board now becomes a 30 thousandths line. Okay? And the only reason I picked 30 thousandths is because it's a good multiple of 5. I could have gone 20, but then I would have had 10 thousandths, on the center, total of 20, and it could have gotten closer. So I just opted to always go 30 on the power and grounds. I could have gone 40 too, right? 40's a pretty good sized piece of copper taken out. So I've just always stuck with 30, and it's worked great on every board I've ever done. Okay? I can't say every board. Sometimes I know a shop machines them out instead of shears them, then I can go less and go from there. So,
well, and sometimes they kind of score the PCB and drill holes.
so they'll drill a hole so you can snap them off.
You can snap them off.
Yes,
exactly.
yes, yes. So what we want to do now is this. We have, if you look right here at the at the very top box right here, see where I'm pointing to right there? Get that down around. Okay, we have top, power, ground, bottom. We have a 4-layer board, right? So I want this ditch or this barrier to be on layers 2 and 3, right? because that's my power and ground plane. So what we want to do here now then is let's go to layer 2, and it's just called power here. You might see layer 2. So click that. Now we want to draw a 2D line around that perimeter. Okay? Now, if we draw, and I hope this fails on me, if I click here on drafting right there, drafting toolbar, see it changes this little bar right here. If I hit drafting, it updates this right here. So I want to go to 2D line and then right click, and I want to draw a rectangle. Okay? So just draw a random rectangle coming around the side right here. Okay? Now, does anyone have it so that in your rectangle, if you don't pick any side, it won't move each side individually? How do any of you have it where it moves the whole rectangle? Let me show you what, because this happened the other day. Okay, if I go to filter, so now if I move that, see how it moves all together as one? Some of you had that the first board we did, didn't you? What causes that is this right here. If you right click and go to filter, if you do not have edges and corners checked, it's just going to pick that as one entity. But if you'll pick these, you can move individually. Okay? Now, we want this line here now to be 30 thousandths around here. Okay? So I just want you to click on any segment of that, right click, and select shape. See, now it picks the whole shape, right? Yes, there is. You probably have about 4 or 5 rectangles now on it. Okay? So click there, right click, select shape. Now right click and go to properties. Change the width here to 30 right there. And hit OK. Now, all I want you to do here is to zoom into this bottom corner, right like that. Okay. Now, I'm just going to move him up here so I can actually scroll up more. That makes sense? There's no reason to squint. You know, it's a lot easier to get it the larger you can get to see what you're doing. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is grab the bottom. Don't use the vertex. Just come over here anywhere. See how that line's right in the middle? As long as your grid is set to 5, go up 3 clicks. See how he's right on the bottom of the board, edge of the board right there? Then click this side here and go 5, 10, 15 right there. See, that's the exact origin right there. See how he's lined up on the edge of the board there? And then let's do the same thing up here. Again, you know, you can move that in closer there, and then you can actually get what's the long way. There. Grab him and go 5, 10, 15. Grab here and go 5, 10, 15. So you've set that kind of setback on one of your plane layers. Does that make sense? Now we have to do that same thing for layer 3. Okay? But we don't have to draw a whole nother rectangle. We can copy this and put it on layer 3 if you want to, or you can draw another rectangle. Okay? So to copy it now, just click it, right click, select shape, right click, and you can, come on here, we'll do it a different way. Edit, we can copy, and then edit, and we can paste. Now what I'm going to do here now is I could put them right there, but yeah, I changed my layer. Let's see. 2D line green red. Okay. Right click, select shape, right click property. I'm going to change him to my palette here. Okay, so I've got one on each layer now, 2 and 3. Okay, it's just a little short edit, copy and paste, and then you can change it. Okay. Pretty good on that now. So every board we do, and we do a power and ground plane, you're first of all going to do this on your cam layers. Okay. Now, you ready for me to go on to the next step?
Actually, when you paste it, how do you get it exactly lined up?
Okay, so scroll in. Keep going down to the right in the very corner there. Right there. You got it right there. That make sense? So you should have one now on layer 2 and one on layer 3, right?
Not seeing it.
If you don't, you have 2 on the same layer. So you just have to click 1. So let's see what you've got here. So, see, they aren't lined up, are they? So let's see what they so select 30 on layer 2, right? Okay. Here now, property, that is also on the right. So let's change the layer. Lines are all across the board. Now we have here now. This one's on here. Now we get a situation where we don't have corners, fix the whole thing. Go to the builder, you can check here, that's just done. Now we match the graph here. Now we switch back to 550. That makes sense? Then go up in the upper corner, do the same thing. We good with that, Dick? That 2D line around there? So no matter if you have your thermals in or not, you can still you can get at least the border all set up. Okay. Okay, now what we have here is layer 3 is ground. Remember, we have 3 nets. We have ground, 3.3, and VLED, right? So ground's going to be on its own plane. VLED and 3.3 are going to be on layer 2 on this board here. So they're going to share layer 2, so we have to separate them now. And so to separate them, we're going to draw a line around them. And that's going to separate them, so it's going to create an island basically within on our board. So do you understand what we're doing with that? We're taking that big piece of copper, we're cutting that in half now, because now we have 2 planes we can generate power on that layer. So the easiest way to do that
and that's Mike because the voltages are different.
yes.
VCC usually means 5 volts.
Right.
And
I mean,
LEDs
yeah.
usually consume like 2.8 or something.
1.8, I mean, there's so many, and some
Depending
people
on the
will
color,
require, some people will require that every circuit might have its own power supply, even though it's the same voltage. I've done that an awful lot too. And if they do that, they want their own plane for this little switching board. And so even though it's the same net, the the grounds in this circuitry have to be ditched separately.
Yeah.
And I'll show you one of those boards later on that I have. I have one here with, I think it's
Well, I'm
8
talking
different pairs.
I'm talking to solar panel installers right now, and one of them said the solar panels they use are divided into 4 sections
Yeah.
rather than all of the cells are connected into
Yep.
one panel.
Yep. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and turn off, go to set up display colors. Let's turn off layer 1, your ground plane, and the bottom. We only want one layer on your power plane. Does that make sense to everyone? That's the only one we want to look at. We don't want all the other stuff confusing us, do we? So hit OK. Okay, now, question for you. If I zoom in here now, can you tell exactly on these smaller ones? Let's see. Oh, I want to go to power. There, that's what I want to see. See how these are green and these are reds or pinkish color here? Can you tell all the greens from that view right there? It's kind of hard to see them with that X going through them, right? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you take them off of the cam plane so we get rid of that X. We're going to see it's just a solid dot. Are you with me there? So to do that, you just have to remember what you're going to remove. So let's go to Setup, Layer Definition right here. Okay. Now, we're on our power plane, right? So right now where it says Assign Nets right here, we have 3.3 V and V LED, right? So let's take these two here and remove them from this layer. Then hit OK and OK. See what happened now? I have solid dots, right?
So I still have the X's on this sign.
Okay, so let's do this then. Go to Setup, Layer Definition. Let's go to your ground plane and let's remove ground. Is that better?
Yes.
So we just did one layer because that's all we're looking at. But you can remove both. You can remember to put all of them back in those planes when you get finished.
I don't think my D is.
Are you on the right layer?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to Setup, Display Colors. See right now, your views are blacked out. So give your views a color. Okay, now, see that one yellow dot up there? That's your VLED, isn't it? What are all your V's? What color is your V on that layer, on this layer? Same color, right? So how can I see my VLEDs? Right now I can see my oranges here, right? I haven't deleted my ground yet, have I? So, Setup, Layer Definition. Let's see. Here, remove. Okay, okay. Now I can see my greens, right? But see this yellow right here? All these other ones look yellow, right? You might miss a couple, right? So how can I change this color? View nets, right? VLED right now is yellow right there. Let's give it a different color. I don't want to use anything that's green or anywhere thing that looks like this. So I could use maybe I could use a light blue right here, couldn't I? Now can you tell the colors a little easier for you? Okay, now what I have to do now is I've got blue, this light blue color going all around my board. Whatever color you have, your BLED is going around here, right? There's a few in here, but is there anything in this area right here that's BLED or the blue? No, there isn't. We have ground, which is green, and this pinkish cyan color, magenta color, whatever you want to call it right here, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw me a rectangle in that upper box. I'm going to cut and split and pull that around so it has all my one color pins in that rectangle. All my BLED I want on the outside of that. Does that make sense? So all we'll do is just come up here and make sure we're on power. Go to 2D line and let's draw us a rectangle and just draw a rectangle here. Okay? Now question, is it okay to have greens in this rectangle? Why? It's on a different plane. Remember when we assign it to the plane, that's the plane that it's coming out on. So right now my greens are not coming out on my power plane. Okay? Now, to make it a little bit easier for you, let's change this keep out area or boundary to 15,000. Again, we had 30 here because where you share it because of tolerance, right? Inside the board, we can control the size of that, right? That's why we can make it smaller. And it'll help us get between vias if you have a complicated board. So let's change this area right here now. Right click, select shape, right click properties. Let's change that to 30 down to 15. Okay, now we can start splitting that. So we come up here. The only thing you have to worry about is try not to go through vias. So I'm going to pull him up to here. Okay, so I'm okay. I've got all my pinkish ones in here, right? I can't have any of the blues in here, though. Does that make sense? So I come down here. I'm still good down to here, right? Still good down to here. But see, I got to bypass these two right here, don't I? So what I could do is I could split this here now, and I could come right down there, couldn't I? Are you with me? So I don't have any of these pinkish ones out here, do I? And I don't have any blues in here. So now I'm halfway through my board. So I'm going to come down here. So what do I have to do here now? I got to get away from those vias. So I could come up here now, and I could probably just move this into here, maybe right to there. Are you with me there? I want to get away from this via here, so maybe just move that in here just a little ways. Now we get down to here. And remember, I can't have any of these blues in my box, can I? Which I can't have any of these in. So I got two choices. I can actually come down here and come over here, or I can come around here and pick these up. You see which way? I have two choices to go. Are you with me?
So I was actually doing something else for a second. How do I actually change the size of the dimension of the box? It's not letting me do like F2.
Did you click it?
F2 doesn't work on the board.
Right there. Okay, right click, properties, change that to 15. Okay, now. Okay, so hit escape now. Okay, now try putting it in. Okay, hit escape. What do you have to change? Yes, so hit escape again. Now right click. Now right click, filter, and okay, so whenever that happens, that's how you can fix it.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to come down the middle of the board, I think. So I'm going to split this here. I can go there. I'm going to split this one here and come back here just a little ways here. Pull this down to here. Split this here. Come over to here. And split this here. Come there. That makes sense? You see how inside here I only have the pinkish colored ones? Out here I have all my blues, right? And those are the only two colors that I'm worried about. I don't care about my ground because it's on the other plane. And, okay, we just will add another part to this board now. Okay? Everyone have this so far? Okay, pretty easy to do, isn't it? Okay, now, this isn't a plain one because look, it's all, it has a hole in it. All you want is these colors here. Now, so you have two of them that are kind of the same right here, right? So we don't know which ones you're working with, right? So we want to go back in now, and so this one here. Anything from, now that one right there is just a regular placement. This one is your 3.3. So now we can go change the color of 3.3 to see which ones are really 3.3. You don't have to squint. U, yes, 3.3, and maybe give it this color right here. Now is that easier to see which ones are which? So now all you can have are the blues in here. You can't have so now maybe make this that gives you a steep difference, right? And have oranges outside of it, right? And so you get come down and you try to get as corners out as possible. Okay. Let's see if we can zoom in here. Look here. You come down here. Okay. And you I can pull this one over here, maybe here, back here. Take out as many corners as I can, but here, blue here. See that nail net there? Why not? And let's find that up there. You see how you can change the colors of your net to kind of help you see which one's which. There. So we good on the ditch then? Do we need help with the ditch? What are these? All you worry about is the colored pin, none of the other ones. So why are you coming clear up here to do that ditch there? No, there's not a color, is it? It's not this one, that color, or that color. Those are the only two colors you're worried about. Nothing else. Okay? We good on that? So, okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a couple of files that you'll want to bring in. And you'll want to kind of know where these files are. This is a 4-layer board now, isn't it? Okay, when you run your printout, you want kind of a label telling you on the sheet what it is. Does that make sense? Because you might have a 20-layer board and you have no idea what each sheet is when you run your Gerbers. And then we need something to kind of register things together. Does that make sense? So I'm going to show you where to find those. Okay, so let me know, and then we're going to stick it on here. And then this is actually how you set a professional board together, really. Okay? Okay, so save your board off here. Make sure you save so we don't have to go back. But what do we want to do first of all? We want to reconnect our power and grounds back up to the right layers, right? Otherwise, they won't be connected up to the plane because we won't put a thermal in there to connect it to the plane. So just go to Setup, Layer Definition. Okay, this is the ground plane, so I want to add ground back on there. And then Layer 2 is our plane, power plane. And I want to add BLED and 3.3. Okay, and hit OK. Now if you zoom in here, see I have all my X's back on there now, don't I? See how hard it would be if we didn't disconnect those to see if you have it? It'd be pretty hard, wouldn't it? Okay, now let's turn everything back on now. We're going to Setup, Display Colors. Let's just make sure our 4 layers are turned on. Okay. And then hit OK. Now this is where you can put your name on your board. Remember? What layer do I want my name to be on? All layers, right? So if you're in the drafting toolbar right here, you see where it says AB right here? That's your text. That's how you add text. So hit AB and just type in your name. Make sure it's all caps though. And then the size, I'd probably make it about 150. That's between an 8 and 3/16. Hit OK. And then just stick your name anywhere you want. But what layer should that be on? Okay, so you can click your name, right click and go to Properties. And right now I want to go to All Layers, which is the very top one. Now every sheet you print out will have your name on it. Okay? Now at this point I want you to save your board. Okay? So even if you aren't finished routing, I want you to save it so you can bring in these other parts to your board. Okay? So everyone should be doing this now. So go to File, Save As, and right. Now what now? Oh. Okay. Get it okay? Okay. So we're going to add 3 more things to this board before we print this board out. And this is what you're going to add to every board from now on. And then we're going to print some more prints out. We've only done a few layers. I mean, there's probably about 12 layers that you have to print out per board to get everything. Okay, we're probably only going to do 6 of them on this board. Let's see, 1, 2, yeah, we'll do 6 on this board right now. Okay. Okay, so you can still set up your board if you aren't finished routing. I want you to set it up with us, because then all you do when you get finished is you can go back to CAM and you can click run, click run, click run. You don't have to set them up because they'll all be set up on this board. Okay? Okay, everyone got your board saved? What we're going to do is we're going to put some boxes underneath here with text in it. We're going to put some registration marks on 3 of the sides of my board. Why don't I put registration marks on all 4 sides of the board? Why would I put it on 3 sides and not 4 sides? You can't get them mixed around, can you? If you line 3 dots up, if you have 4, you could get it flipped around. They could accidentally be lined up still, right? Your different layers. That's why you do three sides. Yes. Yes. Okay. So, with this saved, we have to go hunting now. Okay. So we need to find a 4-layer board that's already been routed. And we're going to copy that bottom box and paste it into our board. And then I have notes, and we're going to copy our notes and put them on your board. And I'll show you how to find those. Okay, so let's go to File, hit Open. Let's see. I'm going to make sure, where did I save mine? On the File, Save As. I saved mine on your stuff. You can delete mine after, okay, Ken? So don't worry about it right now. Okay, so File, Open. Now, let's go to CAD Common, EDDT. Go to me lowercase. Okay, now we come down here. We're going to find some of these PCB files with 4 boxes. I'll show you what 4 boxes we're looking for. What? I missed the first file. CAD Common, EDDT, and then me lowercase. So let's just look at this board right here. Okay, if I open that board up there, I have 4 layers, don't I? 1, 2, 3, 4. These boxes represent different layers. That makes sense? So we got lucky. Now, if I did a 6-layer board, I'd just go down there and find one of those that had 6 boxes in it. And that's what I'd copy over. Did you scroll down a little bit? You're wanting this board that says 08-3060-01-SMC OR 032910. See that file? Open that one. Now do you see this underneath here? Okay, so what I want you to do now is build a window around that right there. Hit Control C. Now we got to bring up our board back up now. So go to File, and then our board is right there. And Control V, and I can stick that box right there for me. That make sense? So I just copied and pasted it into that file. kind of underneath somewhere. You can move it around whatever you want, okay, later on. That's fine. Why? Go to your display colors and tell me if you have text turned on layers 2 and 3. That's right. You gotta give it a color. That makes sense now? So it's just like AutoCAD, we're turning layers on and off, you know. We're just using colors. And they're still there, we're just giving it the same color as the background. Okay? That's all we're doing. Okay, now let's fix this up first here, okay? Okay, this stands for layer 1, layer 2, which is our ground plane, or power. Is layer 2 ground or power? Layer 2 is power, okay? This is our ground plane, and this is our bottom side right here. Does that make sense? So now, if you were to click on this right here, if you look down here, it says top, right? Down here at the bottom. See where I'm pointing to down here? We click on the 2. That says power plane. This one here says ground plane right there. And this one says the bottom. So we have the right configuration. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Now, this right here just tells you what the layer is, whether it be a top routing layer, a ground plane, power plane, or a bottom. Does that make sense to everybody? Now, if you want me to pull those out, I can pull them out. If you want me to, let me just do that quickly, okay? So, see, component side layer 1, that would be on my top, right? Power plane layer 2, ground plane layer 3, solder side layer 4. Remember, this is the top side, solder side is the bottom side, right? Now on this one, we have a drill drawing and a solder side silk screen. That makes sense? Those are the 6 layers that we're going to print on this board. So I'm going to show you how to do a drill drawing, which is going to tell you every hole you have, where it's at on your board, and the size of that hole. Okay? Because that's what they need to manufacture the board, drilling all these holes. Yes? Okay, so those set up. Display colors. The text right there, you have it blacked out. You have to give it a color. Pick a color and then put that box. Okay? Okay, now, these numbers over here correspond to the actual number that's assigned to these different layers. Remember when we do a cam plane? If I say layer 24, that's a drill drawing. 26 is the silk screen on the top side. Okay, they're predefined, so when you click that one, everything populates that goes along with it. Okay, and I'll show you that in just a sec. In fact, I'll show you it right now. If I come up here to where it says power and scroll down, see, I have 1 through 20 for trace layers. I can do a 20-layer board with this software. Okay. Now, what layer is this one here going to be then? 21. What about this one? 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay, that's how I came up with these numbers right here. So see, that's 24 is my drill drawing. 29 is my silk screen bottom side. So if I look here, see silk screen on the bottom is 29. That's where I come up with that number right there. Does that make sense to everybody? So I have my layer over here saying what actual layer it is, my route layers. Over here now, I'm putting the numbers on top of each other, but when I run that layer, it'll just print one layer at a time, won't it? Whatever text is on the layer that I tell it to print. Okay, are you good? And you'll see this once you start printing. Okay, So now we got to put all these back again. Okay, sorry about that. So I'm going to change my grid to like grid of 25. So type in G25. And let's see, let's put him right there. And put him back into here.
Why do we have them all on top of each other?
I'll show you here in just a second.
Because we're seeing all layers.
All the layers are on, but you'll see in just a second why. So this will all make sense in just a second why we're doing this. Now we got to go back into that board now and grab one of those circle with registration marks and bring it over, and then we're going to copy it and put it in 3 corners. So I would at this point save your board. This does have save as, and you can save it as the same one. Okay, so now I'm going to go to File, and then I want to open this board right here. So it saves the last 4 right here. I'm going to open this board right here, and I want to copy one of these registration marks, one of these round circles. So build a circle around that. Control C, go back to File, and open up your board, and Control V. Now well, let me set up display colors.
What are these registration markers actually signifying?
Well, if you had 2 layers printed out on here, how would you align them so they're right aligned? So you put them over, and these are transparent, and you line with registration marks. Usually for the indent, and they'll line them up. But if I had on this one, if I had 1, 2, 3, and on this 1, 2, 3 over here, put it there, I'd say I'd have to rotate one to make it line up right. I want my 3-dot circle to line up. That's why I don't put 4 on. If I had 4 on, they could be backwards and still line up. Okay? Okay. Now these are 2D lines. Let's see. Setup, display colors. Visible. Assign 2D. I'm going to change this color here to maybe. You see that a little better? Okay, so what I can do now here is I'm just going to build that here. Control C, Control V, and just stick 3 random around going there. That make sense? Now I usually don't pick them that random though. But I come out from the corners equal distance. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to pick that right there and hit move. And I'm going to go to my origin right there. See, I'm on my origin. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, it's going to take too long. So I'm going to go grid of 100. So move. There's my origin. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That makes sense? Come up here. Yep, move. Yeah, you can put those registration marks around there. Again, they do not have to be in any specified distance away. Just make sure you only do it on 3 sides. Okay?
I've had a question for a while now. On the move command, is there any keyboard command to end the move, like without having to do mouse click? Like Control E will end it too.
Yeah, if you
Like I'm just worried about going and touch my mouse and then accidentally move it.
Control E, yes.
So Control E will also end it.
Or just click it and it'll end, and then hit escape, it'll end it.
Escape will end it too.
Yeah. Or click will end it, once you put it down, just click it. Okay, one last thing we want to print out, bring over here. So as you save this, you want to save this as, your digit board dash, maybe put 4 layers on it. So if you ever need to go find a 4-layer board setup, you know exactly where to go to find it. Okay. Okay, let's go back into that other file now. But make sure you hit save as. Okay. Let's go file, and I want to open this one right here. Okay.
Do you want the dimensions now?
We aren't going to worry about dimensions today. No. Text. Let's see what I have on field drawing. Okay, cancel. Okay, we got to open up another file. Let me see if I can find you one here. 8-inch ring 2015. Open. Don't want that one. File. Open. I'll find you one here. Just hold on tight. Undo. Let's put that one up there. There. Okay, open up the file that's 26-6000-30-TLPCO-OR-08-1810. You see that file? That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. 26-6000-30-TLPCO-OR-08-18-10. Did everyone find it?
Yes.
Here's the notes we want to put on your board right here now. Okay? So all you want to do now is to build a window around those notes right there. Control C. Let's go back and open up the instructor one here. Control V. And put those notes right off to the side right here. Okay? Now, you do mechanical drawings, you have a lot of notes on a board, right? On a drawing. Here's the notes to actually fabricate this board. I'm going to quickly go over those notes with you, and then we'll start printing, okay? These are actual notes that any board house could take these notes. If you wanted to lay a board out, if you put these notes, and you're welcome to keep these notes if you ever want to do a little board on your own. You can put these notes on your board. I have no problem. Okay. First one says material. What material is it made out of? It's FR4. And the thickness is to be 0.62 plus or minus 7,000. So it gives you the tolerance. And it gives you a spec here that came from. Okay. Number 2. Fabricate per IPC 6011, 6012. Okay, that's just like the ANSI Y14.5 for dimensioning. Okay.
Good question.
Yes.
It says finished thickness 0.062. Is that the whole board or each layer?
The whole board. So basically, that's a 1/16 of an inch thick.
That's almost 68. That's thin.
Right. But that's a standard thickness of a circuit board. If you were to measure, well, circuit board, that's about what it'd be. Yeah, we can pull. Yeah. The most I've done is a board that's 2/10 thick. That's a thick board. There was 12 on it, but it went up in a satellite, so it had to be rigid because when you do that, they have to go through a shake test. So you don't want a board to flex at all because if it flex, parts will start falling off. So you want that when it flex to be strong, and that's a heavy, and you don't want to get hit with that board. Yeah. So warpage, you don't want it to warp more than 7 thousandths per inch, okay? Defects, the reason I put this in, I did a board once that got inspected by a woman, and I went to plug the board in, and it shorted. Everything shorted on me. They came back and said, you made a mistake. I said, no, I didn't. And I went back, checked my board, and I called back and said, no, I didn't. Well, we got their Gerbers, and what had happened was a lady's hair had fallen off as she was stacking this up, and her hair became a conductor, shorting all the traces together. Okay? And so that's why I put this note in there, because it safeguards you, saying any defects, that you're responsible for the board, not me. As you go from there. Okay? Here's conductor widths, your traces. Plus or minus 20% of widths are furnished master film. And so if you have, that's why you try to make your traces as wide as you can, because there's a tolerance on your trace. Just like in mechanical, there's a tolerance on everything. If you specify a 12 thousandths trace all over your board, do you think it's going to stay exactly at 12 thousandths? It's going to vary a little bit, right? So that's why that one's in there. Here, I'm just saying this. A lot of times you might hear SMOBC, which stands for solder mask over bare copper. Okay, it's not going to mean much to you right now, and the finish isn't going to be a whole lot to you. But hole location shall be drilled within plus or minus 3 thousandths of centers on finished film. So all these holes, and I've done holes with boards with 10,000 holes in them. Every hole has to be within plus or minus 3 thousandths of an origin. So when you start talking about tolerancing and GD&T and everything on a mechanical part that might have 15 different features, you have 10,000 features now that have to be toleranced. Okay, so pretty close accuracy.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back up here now on this other side.
Oh, layer.
Hole diameters are specified after plating. So if you drill a hole and then plate it, that 15 thousandths hole might be plugged up now. Okay, so they have to enlarge the hole slightly, plate it so you have a finished hole size of what you gave your via a hole size. That's what this is.
It's on us to make sure that we leave enough space for that much.
That's right. That's right. Both sides of the board shall be masked with, okay, I have green, black, and red. Those are basically the ones I use. I use green and red around Christmas time, black at Halloween. I'll do orange boards. You can do any color board you want, any silkscreen you want. Some companies at Halloween want it, orange and black. Christmas, red and green. 4th of July, they might want a blue board with white and some red on it. So companies are all different, okay? So you specify what color solder mask you want, what size silkscreen.
What is that, though? Solder mask.
The solder mask is, most boards are green. All that green, that's solder mask.
Okay.
So instead of seeing a green board, you might see a red board or a blue board or a purple board.
So solder mask is basically a lacquer.
Yeah.
So that when the boards were soldered on the conveyor belt through a bath, so when it went through a bath of liquid solder, the solder only adhered, to the pads and whatnot. to places where you want it. Solder mask prevents solder adhering to anything anywhere
Basically
else.
like masking tape or,
It's kind of like varnish and wood products. You spray the varnish over to seal it, to protect it.
okay.
So it goes over your traces, because your traces, you don't want them exposed. You want a covering over them. Okay. Okay. Then here's the silk screen. And again, I usually just call out white epoxy, but I can change that white to red, blue, orange, any color you can think of. Here's the UL approved. Something interesting I found about UL approved. Has anyone ever worked with you getting a underwriter's laboratory approval on a board? Really, there's no final official document that says you have to have it UL approved. That's just a laboratory that came up with that and tried to make it as a standard. I pushed that through with an inspector on a water heater the other day. He said, you don't have a UL approval on there. And when I showed him what UL stood for and actually the specs for this water heater, he said, oh, you're okay. So, kind of interesting. Here's your tolerances for shearing. So, see, I had shear plus or minus, 1/10 of an inch. Right here. Here's mounting holes. Typical board construction. Layer 1, component side. Layer 2, power plane. Layer 3, ground plane. Layer 4. So I list, so if they want to look at my files with these names on them, they'll see how it's going to stack up to make a 4-layer board. So now we're ready to print. Okay? So we're going to do 6 layers, 6 prints on this board now. And again, even if you don't have all your power planes done, print these out so you have everything set up. So when you get it, you can just click on it and run, click, run, and be finished. Okay, so let's go ahead and save your board. Okay, so now let's go to File, Cam. Okay, now we're adding 2 more, so one's the hardest one we have to do, the other one's a fairly easy one, but that's okay. Let's add, we're going to do layer 1 first. So add, what do we want to call it? Okay, you can call it top, you can call it solder side, whatever you want. You can call it layer 1 if you want to. Does that make sense? Just call it something. I'm going to call mine combination of everything. Component side layer 1. How's that? That make sense? Okay, so what did we do on layer 1 now? We routed, right? So click on the routing / split plane. Of what layer are we talking about? The top. Okay. Now this output file is only good if you're going to save it and send somebody. What we want is we want to hit this print. Okay? Because we want to run prints right now. We don't just want to create a file and not be able to see it. Okay. So basically, you're there. Go to Options right here. And Options is going to be the same every time we do it. Options, there's my board right there. So it's 1-to-1. The justification, I want it centered. See how I centered it up? Okay. Now hit OK. Now go to Layers. Come on. There. Okay. Now remember, on a route layer, how many boxes should I have blackened here? 6. On a cam plane, how many boxes? 5. That's how you know if you got them right. You can count to 6 and 5. That's all you need to know. And you got everything hooked up right. So I'm just going to hit OK. Now hit Preview Selections. That's what you're gonna get. See your registration marks here now? Your name should be on here. See component side layer 1, and I have layer 1, so that tells me that that is layer 1. There's no question mark, right? Even though I stacked all those names up, I put the names on the corresponding layer that they are assigned to. Are you with me there, okay? So now you're ready to run it. You can run your print. So you can actually, hit close, and then you can just hit run here. Yes. And then okay. And it adds this here now. Okay. Let's add layer 2. We're going to add. What was layer 2? Power. Okay. So what I usually do here now is I'll put power plane, and then I'll put 3.3B and BLED. So I'll list actually my power nets that I have on that layer. So if ever I have to look at a board a year down the road, all I have to look is my name on my layer, and I know which ones I have, what the net names are. Okay? And I could actually put layer 2 also, because in reality it's layer 2, isn't it? Okay, hit print right here. Now, what kind of a plane is it? Cam plane right there. Of what layer? Power. Okay, then we're going to do these two right here, and they're identical. So justification, we want it centered. Hit OK. Layers here. See, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Hit OK. Preview selections. So you see your registration marks here. Your power plane layer 2 with layer 2. Now, if I zoom in here now, again, see, there's my thermal right there for VLED. Here's my thermals for my 3.3 in here. Inside my ditch, they're all separated now, aren't they? So that's how I'm getting power to all those pins that I'm dropping that via off the layer 1 or the bottom layer. Are you with me now? That's why you don't want to run traces between all your vias. You want your via to jump down into that plane as soon as you can get it down there. Okay? If you hook them all up with a thin little trace and put a load on a power, what's going to happen to that little, it's like shoving a 220 into a little 18 gauge wire. What's going to happen to the 18 gauge wire?
Get up and.
Okay? Does that make sense? So you want to get that sunk down. The other thing is, remember I told you, on a bigger cap, put multiple vias in it. So that source, that pathway, gets sunk down into that plane, that big piece of copper, as soon as you can. Okay? So we know this layer is okay, correct? So you can hit board if you want to look at the whole thing. But see that ditch in there? Now, you can have as many different ditches on the layer as you want, as long as you can separate it out. Now, question for you. If you're routing board along and you have one trace you just cannot route, could you put it on a power plane? If there's one trace that you just could not get from here to there on, could you end with the via and do a little ditch on that on a power plane also? You bet you could. Does that make sense? And so it doesn't have to be a power trace to put on. Sometimes I'll do my clock lines there.
Well, it's just like I showed you the two-side board that combines
Right.
traces and planes.
Right. Now that and like I say, that gets into fun. And we'll do a two-layer board too. Okay, so let's run this one. Say close, run, yes. And it puts layer 2 here. Now, if anyone's afraid of losing these, hit the save right now, and it will save as we go. And I'm okay as long as Juan doesn't kick the power cord. So we want to add another one. We're going to add our ground plane. So add ground plane layer 3. Does that make sense? That's a pretty good description of what that is, isn't it? Document type is a CAM plane of ground. Click on there, hit your options, justification, centered. Okay, click on layers here, and we got 5 here, right? Hit OK. Preview selections. See your 30,000th line coming around here? And I've got all these are my ground vias stuck in here, right? That makes sense? And then we can run. Yes. Is that printing out of paper? Or is that printing? Oh. We're going to change something right now. That's all mine. Mine are probably on the same side. You guys are on the right side.
They could have come along.
It should be printing right now. Yeah, if you print on B size, that's okay, Juan. And not A size. I'll show you how to change it to A size though. Okay. So keep it on printing back there. Okay. So I'm going to hit save right now. Let me just show you how to fix it if you print out on B size. So I'm going to close this out here. You guys don't need to close yours out. If you go to file right here, see where it says print setup right here? Hit print setup. What do you have listed under paper size, Juan? The what? A4. You hit this printer right here. Then what you want to do is you want to hit letter.
Yeah, A4 is European.
You want to see that letter. That'll be the 8.5 by 11. Okay? Okay, so now I'm going to go back into CAM here. Now we're going to add layer 4. So let's add. Now I called the top one component side, so I'm going to call this one solder. Side layer 4. And we routed on layer 4, which is the bottom, right? Hit print and then just go through your options. Center it up. And then I should have 5 or 6 now, right? Hit OK. Preview selections. And then hit board right here if you want to see zoom all. To see your solder side layer 4, and there's your number 4 right there. So that tells you exactly what this print is right there. And there's your registration marks. Okay? Hit close and run and yes. And okay. Okay, now for the fun one. Okay. Bottom side. Okay. Is that working okay, or do you have to push that every time?
Use tray one, which is empty, instead of tray two. But it's actually not.
Tray 1 is empty,
So it says.
but there's plenty in there, isn't it?
Tray one is this thing over here, which I didn't.
Can you shut it? I think if you shut it, it will. Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, so let's do the drill drawing. That's the one that is the hardest one to do, okay? Then we'll do the easy one, and then we'll be finished, okay? So let's add. Okay. Now type in drill drawing / I call it fab. Drill drawing, this is my fabrication drawing. Okay. Document type right here. There is a drill drawing right there of the top. Make sure this says top. It can be the top or anyone, but make it top. Hit OK. Now, print. Let's go to options. Okay. That chart right there now is where all your files are going to be. So we want this to fit on one sheet. So I'm going to have to, the orientation now, I'm going to rotate it 90. I'm going to scale it in half here. And I'm going to center it. Okay.
So we're scaling half of 1 to 2, right?
Yes, yes. So we want it centered. Scale factor is 1/2, and orientation should be 90. Okay. That makes sense to everybody? Now, I want to move this box out so it's over here. Is everybody okay with me there? So let's go up to drill symbols right here. So we have an X and a Y location of our drawing chart. So this is in thousands. So X, I'm going to put 1,000 here. And hit OK. See, it moved it back that way. I want it to come this way, right? So I'm going to go back here now. How do I get to go the opposite direction? Negative maybe 4,000. That's 4 inches. I need to go more, don't I, to get it outside my board. Are you with me? Yeah. Again, this is trial and error to find out where you want it. So go back to symbols here. I'm just going to change that 4 right there to 6, maybe. Let's see what that does. Maybe 7. See how close it is still? Okay, that gets it out there now, right? Now, if I want to move it up, how do I move it up?
Change the Y.
Change the Y. So I'm going to put 2,000 here.
It needs to be negative. Oh, okay.
It's just how I rotated my initial board. You would say neg, but
Okay.
it's how it's according to that. So that's pretty well centered now off to the side, isn't it? So hit OK. Okay, now let's go to options right here. No, that's okay. Let's go to layers. Okay, so we should have top and drill drawing right here. Okay, so hit OK. Let's hit preview selections. Okay, there's our notes we put on it.
Interesting.
But do you see anything wrong with it?
Ooh.
Only show part of my board rather than all of it.
No. What's wrong here? Remember, I had to assign a layer to it, right? So I had to assign layer 1 to it. It brought in the text on layer 1. I only want the text on layer 24, right? So I got to go back and modify this slightly now. So, do I want to modify and turn the text off of layer 1? I want the text for layer 24 because that's the layer I'm working on, the drill drawing, right? So, hit close. go to layers right here. We want to go to the top right here. See where it says text right here? Uncheck that text box. Then hit OK. Now preview selections. Now you only have one set of drawings there. Does that make sense? So you're always checking your box. You know, you're drawing to see what it has. Now, what this drill drawing here is for you. Okay, so see, here's your size right here. There's some 55s, 35s, 36s, 156, 37, 116, and 15. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 7 different sizes. Here's the quantity of each size right here. Here's the symbol, and these symbols all are over here. And here's the plated, if it's plated or non-plated, and here's the tolerance. So I should see all these symbols. So if I come over here, see I have the square box, the X, the box with the symbol here. Where's some others? There's a plus right there. Okay, so if I come over here now, see there these symbols here, like that symbol there. There's the line, there's the X, there's the X with the A. Does that make sense? That lets you know where all your holes are. So if you know that you have a connector, you can find that connector, and if you know that it has a mounting hole for that connector of a certain size, you can verify yourself to make sure. Another quick check. Okay, so you can hit close, and then you can hit run. Now this one takes a little extra work, so hit run, yes, and just say okay, 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 okay. You're going to have to do that 7 times because it's just saying we're assigning this symbol to this hole. That's all that's saying. And then it'll print out for you. Okay? So we have 1 layer left to do, and then we'll be finished. So hit OK. And we should have 5 in here now, right? So let's add our 6th one. Now, our parts are on the bottom side of the board, our chips, right? The LEDs are on the top side of the board, remember? So we want to do a silk screen. I'm only going to do 1 silk screen of the bottom side of the board. Okay? Technically we'd do another one of the top side, which is layer 26, but we're just going to do one of the bottom side. So you can see your reference designators for your components there. Okay, so I'm going to put solder side, solder side, layer 4. How's that? See, that matches basically what I have for my component side layer 1, solder side layer 4. See, I try to keep some consistency. What did we do? We routed, right? Of what layer? The bottom. Click here, options here, center it. Okay. Go to your layers. You should have 6 of them showing up here. Hit OK. Hit preview selections. Okay. So hit board. Okay. Oh, you know what? I did this wrong. Sorry about that. We're on silk screen layer. I'm sorry. So hit close. Okay. So this is going to be solder side silk screen. Layer 29. Sorry about that. So I come over here. Which one am I going to pick here now? Silk screen. Of what side? The top or the bottom? The bottom. Okay. Now go to options. Okay, so there's my board. I'm going to center it. Hit options. And again, everything should be spec'd out here now. Hit OK. That's previous selections. Okay. So what you see here now is you see your reference designators and your outlines for all your parts on the bottom side of the board. When you go to stuff this board, you know exactly where to put that certain chip. Okay. Now, if we did one for the top side, now, question for you. What would I have to do here? I have to go back to my main board and rotate that reference designator so it's reading. Okay. Why is my reference designator reading backwards? It's on the bottom side of the board. Okay. That's why. Okay. So now I'm not worried about changing these, but you know, this and this one are backwards, aren't they? You come up here, that one's backwards right there. The rest of them are, see that one, I'd want to change something there because I don't want text on top of something, right? Now, I'm not going to require that you go and change those right now. Don't, I just want you to be able to print this out. Okay, so close and then run and yes. Okay, now make sure you save this here now. So when you go back into File and Cam, everything is set up for you and all you have to do is click run, and you're finished. So on your boards, make sure, I think the stapler's right here. If you want to staple your pages together. That makes sense? So the only thing we haven't done is we haven't put a dimension on a board yet. We'll do that on the next board, okay? So, but you know how to put notes on it now. You know how to put your registration marks on it and your little blocks for your different layers, right? Here's the stapler, Chris, right here. Right here.
Okay, yeah, I figured it out already before. I'll just print another one. So I don't have to look at it right there. I have to go. I'm taking my, this one on top, right?
It doesn't matter, as long as your name's on it. Oh, yes.
Where's this?
Okay. Good. Today we're still finishing.
You mind if I?
Good enough. Okay.
You might. Mind if we save this and I get my flash drive?
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Awesome. Thank you.
Go ahead.
You want me to save it onto your desktop for you?
No, I'm okay. I'm sure that I'll do another board next time.
Okay.
Right there. So you just put them right here. Did yours want it fixed to put it on A? You got it. Good. Just put them in this file here when you're finished. Okay. Yes. They put it together too. Okay. Yep.
Digital or?
I didn't print. I haven't done the power stuff
No,
yet.
I mean your calipers. Are they digital or are they dial?
Just think, if you guys were
Digital.
making money on this, you would have
My
made
eyesight is too old
probably
for
about
that.
$4,000 on this class.
I was curious. I don't know.
What happened?
I do too. No, I love
Out of
tools.
this board for they would make about $4,000.
Really? That?
And laying it out.
Oh, placing all of your parts. Okay.
We haven't done that part
I was
yet.
like, that adds a bit more.
That's the fun part, but it's the hardest part too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's gonna add a lot more time.
And creating the parts.
We would, it was just a almost previous time.
A lot of you will, yes.
See you, Chris.
We'll see, Chris, have a good one. But we'll go through all those different stages. So. Okay, then have a good one. Thanks.
Sorry, excuse me.
Do you want this? Yeah, just put them in this pile, right? Yes.
I haven't printed yet because I didn't do the PowerPoint.
Okay, you got it all set up, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good then. Yes, the first one we did? Yeah. That is. Yeah. That would be great.